There's no da-da-da-da-da this time, mate. There's no da-da-da-da. We're heading straight into things. It's all things West Ham. So everyone watching, this is a new show for the year. We're going to do it every single week. It's going to be a cast of 4. It's free today. Listen, Dennis is a busy man. We tried to get him on. We just couldn't pull him on. So we've ended up with these lot. Bill, Charles, how are we doing, lads? You enjoyed your summer? I know it's been tough with West Ham. It should be really relaxed and peaceful and we should be buzzing. But how are you?
Yeah, fine, thanks, mate. Yeah, obviously the Euros was great. Obviously heartbreak at the end with England, but yeah, we haven't had to wait long till the season. It was great to be at the Atlanta friendly on Saturday, but great to see you boys in person at last. And
we can confirm we are all real. Like, no mirage. We're actually there.
Looking forward to the season with optimism for the first time in a while.
Charles, recovered from Saturday? You was all right, to be fair.
Barely to be fair. Yeah, no, I think my dad's probably struggling still. But yeah, no, it's obviously, yeah, no, it's been a very good summer of football. It was good, kind of temporarily switching allegiances to England, and just unfortunate, of course, the way it ended. But still, great summer of football. I actually ended up at one of the semi-final games. That was just quality. Just get back in amongst the fans, and then again with you boys on Saturday, lifting that beautiful trophy up was left a tear in my eye, really. But you know,
it was one of them emotional moments. It's like, will we ever do it?
I mean, Declan Rice is obviously depressed and gutted about losing a once in a lifetime chance with lift of the Euros. But you come back and win a Betway, you feel like it's all forgiven then, don't you?
Do you know what it reminded me of? You know when you played Sunday League as a kid growing up, and they'd go and buy a trophy from
a participation trophy.
It was basically like one of them.
And it's still got the stickers on it.
Yeah, exactly. On the bottom, it's got like £9.99.
I dare any fan out there to find a photo of a Betway Cup winner that isn't smiling unironically. Like, they have to be cheering properly, and I don't think you'll find it. Honestly, I love the Betway Cup. I think it should be respected a lot more. Maybe potentially even integrated with the FA Cup and League Cup. But
you're really selling it to me. I'm telling you, like, I'm almost falling for this.
Well, once you've won it once, you want to keep winning it, didn't you? So
continue. Look, Mark Noble needed silverware in his last season, and he's got it like really early doors before he even kicks the ball. Let's talk about pre-season. We've actually had quite a good one. I know sometimes with West Ham it's a bit up and down, and again, like I'm sure you two are the same. You can never really read too much into it, but I've got to be honest, I've been quite happy with it. I think some of the level of the performances have been good. Again, you owe a lot to the fact that the squad is so thin that you're seeing the first team almost every week. But I'm going to go Charles first. Thoughts on the pre-season so far, mate? Do you think it bodes well for the Prem? You've been impressed with what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's been some good results in there. Smashing Celtic was obviously decent, not surprising, but still a decent result. And then the Brentford game, obviously a little bit tighter, but a bit of Benny magic helped us through that. And then, of course, the win against Atalanta, who maybe weren't starting some of their top players, but are still a really talented team, and the Champions League qualifier as well. So it's no easy contest, that, and we pretty much look comfortable winners on the day. So I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. I think there's a lot to be pessimistic about as well. But that is the life of a West Ham fan. I'm sure we'll get into it later on. But in terms of performances, couldn't have asked for much more, to be fair. Boys look fit, ready to go. Some notable performances were Benrahma and Fornals, who've had a very solid start to the pre-season. Look like they're going to have some incredible seasons, hopefully, if they get the opportunity to do so. And yeah, overall, it should be. I feel pretty optimistic on a performance level, at least.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, Bill, we've actually come up against some decent opposition. Sometimes they're a bit dud, and I think in the first few games I was like, you know what, can't really be bothered to review this because I don't really know what I'm watching. But Brentford was definitely a challenge. Actually, progressively, we were getting better challenges, and I felt Atalanta. I know they changed their team at half time. There's a lot of different personnel, but we look good. We look relatively comfortable. We look settled in our rhythm. We look settled in the way that we're playing. You taking a lot of encouragement from that?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Obviously, pre-season not about the results; it's about style of play. Players obviously fit, and I think some of the goals we've scored have been really, really exciting to watch. Look at the Celtic. Obviously 6-2 we beat them, and some of the goals in particular, like the counters, were really promising, and that bodes well for the season. And yeah, as Charles says, some of the individual performances as well, like Fornals and Benrahma, who we'll touch on later. And that's really good to see. Obviously, preseason ain't the be all and end all, and you can go unbeaten, but it means nothing when the season starts. I mean, Avram Grant's season in 2010-11, we were unbeaten in pre-season. Yeah, we were unbeaten in pre-season and then didn't win and lost the first 4 games. So
I'm glad somebody's filling in the void that Dennis has left. I'm glad
somebody. We're gonna have to chime in for out. I've got Allaire in the back pocket. I've got.
I'm slagging off Grant, unlike Dennis, who loves him. So
that's true.
But no, so it's not the be all and end all. But even during that, I remember because I went to watch. West Ham played Ipswich in that pre-season under Grant, and we looked, even though we didn't lose, we looked a bit, this doesn't bode well for the season. So it's more the performances. But some encouraging signs, and more obviously encouraging than last season when we got thrashed by Bournemouth, which led into the bad performance against Newcastle. So hopefully we'll start the season off better this season against Newcastle this weekend.
It's mad. I was doing the preview earlier and I realised we actually played Newcastle first game of the season last season as well. Yeah. Just the switch. And I was like, oh god, it don't bode well. We'll get into Newcastle later.
One of the more depressing episodes of the West Ham way, I think.
Listen, when you're getting beat and Steve Bruce is doing a little bit of a job on you, it does become slightly frustrating, and you've got to put your hands up and go, oh, I don't know what's going on here. But Benrahma, let's talk about it. He's an elusive player. He's a player that I feel that he divides people at times, or certainly last season. Obviously, he was massively in the Benny camp, and I felt that he could kind of come into his own. But really, this season, we need to see something a little bit more consistent from him. Pre-season form, he's looking a fantastic player, if I'm honest. I think he looked really good in the number 10. We saw him live on Saturday, and when you're watching a player live, you see a lot more than you see off the telly, and how he just attracts players towards him, how he can beat players at will, and he even cracked one off the bar as well, which I saw in the highlights. I was thinking, is it his season, lads? Do we feel that this is the time for him to step up? We don't know whether Lingard's going to come back or not. I kind of doubt it, to be honest. Does he really have to take the mantle this season and start chipping in with the goals and assists that we expect?
I think he's undoubtedly going to be one of the top players outside of the top 6 this season. I think he's going to be one of the standouts. Look, we've all known since a couple of years ago when he was at Brentford that he's got skill, he's got ability. Just a naturally gifted player. I mean, a player that he reminds me of a little bit is his sort of compatriot Riyad Mahrez. I think he's just so skillful on the ball, and the ball sticks to his foot, and you know that you've got a naturally talented footballer when they're playing with that kind of confidence. And like you said, Corey, watching him on Saturday was eye-opening, really, because I don't think we've seen him play with such kind of flair and ability to move into the final third with such ease. He was so good, and a lot of people were maybe not off Benrahma last season, but I do get what you mean. There's kind of a lot of he should start or he shouldn't start. I think he's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet this season in terms of his ability. I think what's helped as well is that he kind of joined. I want to say he joined towards the later end of the pre-season last year, whereas this season he's got kind of a full pre-season under his belt under Moyes. He knows what Moyes expects of him. I think Moyes is kind of maybe at first he wasn't so much of a fan of Benny, but I think now he's really coming along, similar to as he has done with Fornals. I think both players are going to have sensational seasons if they're given the platform to do so. But yeah, I mean, Saturday was a very encouraging sign of things to come, and yeah, let's hope that he gets the minutes this year that will allow him to do what he does.
Yeah, I can't lie. I know I'm bigging him up a little bit, but he was massively inconsistent last season, and there were times where he was losing the ball and he wasn't making the right decision or the right pass, and it was massively frustrating. I think you're right. I think it's just minutes, really. He just needs time under his belt. The pre-season's huge for him. I think just even in and around the squad, the only benefit of really having a thin squad is that he is getting to play regular game time. And I've been quite encouraged with the fact of how many minutes he is playing in pre-season. But that's Moyes thinking, let's just get him a bit of momentum going into it, get him a bit of fitness, and he can hit the ground running. Bill, Benrahma, when are you getting it put on the back of your shirt? Just so we know.
Well, if he starts off the season well, mate, then I might have to into a club shop. But yeah, as you boys have said, he's had a really good pre-season, and I think that goal the equaliser against Brighton, I think, has been the catalyst for his strong pre-season. And as Charles rightly says, he's been at a club. Well, it's coming up to pretty much a year now, isn't it? Like calendar year, and he's got used to Moyes' methods, and I think he's probably earned Moyes' trust now, and he's probably benefited Benrahma that Lingard hasn't joined on loan again, or you never know what could happen towards the end of the window. But I mean, that's probably benefited Benrahma more than anyone as well. So he's got to be the main man. And I think he was at Brentford, and I think he'll take that responsibility. And we need goals from him this season, especially with the lack of centre forwards.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point though, the Lingard thing, isn't it? Because I've seen people now starting to say, do you bring him? I mean, obviously he has to come back if we can get him back because of the squad depth, but it's almost like you don't really want to displace Benrahma. I don't know how you lot feel. I just feel like he looks better as a number 10. Every time I see him in the middle of the park, he creates a lot more. When he's on that left-hand side, I think sometimes he can go a little bit missing. So maybe if you did bring Lingard in, he could play on. I feel like Lingard could play on either side. He's a bit more versatile than Benrahma.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
No, thanks, mate. I think I think Benrahma. Yeah, it was great, obviously, to see him live, but also how much more of a freer role it looked like he had compared to say last season, where he was mainly on the left and cutting in. So he was just dictating play and picking up space and picking up the ball in those pockets off the front and drifting those half spaces out wide and things like that. So I think. It looks like he's been encouraged to go and search for the ball and wait for it to come to him rather than staying out wide. So that's a good thing.
I think a lot of people as well just love watching a player with skill play. I think as West Ham fans, we're always attracted to those kind of those flair-driven players, the players with skill. We obviously love Payet, and I feel like, in a way, Said can be the next Payet in a way. Whether he achieves as much as Payet did in the short time that Payet was here, let's hope so. But in terms of the ability that he's got, he's probably, in terms of technical ability, he's probably one of the best players at the club. And you give him that license to go ahead, as you say, Corey, in that sort of number 10 role, whereas allowed to turn defenders inside out like he was doing against Atalanta, then you're going to cause a lot of carnage. You're going to cause a lot of carnage to defences, and like you said, obviously Lingard not being in the picture anymore might give him a bit more license to do that. But again, what's been said over the last couple of weeks, I think Sullivan's still potentially holding out for a deal for Lingard, and more chat over the last few days, I think, from Lotka saying that Lingard might be able to leave because of all the signings that they're bringing. So. Who knows? But I'm Team Benny all the way. We all know that Dennis hates Benrahma and has always said that he's a terrible player. I just thought I'd take that chance now while he's away for him not to defend himself to out him as a Benrahma hater.
Yeah, we're Team Benny here, right? We're Team Benny. Dennis,
without a doubt.
He's not really a fan. Too weak. Too easily. Even though his mate told him. No, I mean, look, I think at the end of the day, even if you bring Lingard back, I actually think our attacking midfield three, the way that they link up at times, they're getting better. Like their relationship, they're building it a little bit more. We look a little bit more fluid in terms of when we're getting on the ball and trying to break teams apart. So I actually think even if Lingard did come back, it's another option to add to that. And it's exciting. I feel like the balance of the squad is kind of getting there. I want to talk about Connor Coventry in terms of just slightly behind those attacking midfield three, because he's come out of nowhere. We've been here before. We've seen Josh Cullen come through. Then he's been shipped out. But Coventry feels a little bit different. I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit more mature in some of his performances in pre-season. We're hearing David Moyes wants to keep him. Bill, your thoughts on Coventry, because it is quite a difficult route in terms of progression to go from League One to Prem. But there are attributes about his play which I feel would really benefit West Ham next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, in the limited first team appearances he's made, and in this pre-season he looks comfortable on the ball, and he's made a lot of sort of forward runs as well. Especially I remember in the Celtic game, he was like getting penalty spot back, running back. I think he's probably bulked up a little bit as well. I think that's helped him. He was a bit slight before. I think he's just looks a bit more physically imposing than before. So, I think, and plus we're limited in centre midfield options, aren't we? So, I think it's now or never for him, really. It was never in the case for Josh Cullen, hence why he left. And, I think it's Coventry's time to, especially with the amount of competitions we're going to be in as well, I think he will get a lot of the first-team exposure to see if he can cut at this level.
It's tough, isn't it? Because like when they're a youth team player and they come through that academy, there is a clamour, isn't there, for players like get them in now. And then you see Nathan Holland in pre-season, and he's not.
They've got to be good. They've got to be good enough, though. You look at someone like Elliot Lee, for example, was ripping it up in the youth level, and obviously he hasn't played above League One since. I don't think.
That's what I mean. There's almost like an assumption that a player can go from that kind of youth team and then their development is in the Premier League. Whereas I looked at pre-season, there's players like Nathan Holland who I rated quite highly. You can see he's just not. I just don't think he's at the level. Whereas I thought Coventry, the opposition that he's playing, and the way that he's sort of dictating play in certain games, you feel that he's got gears to go up. It just takes time, doesn't it? I guess. I look at Mipo's the perfect example, Odebeki, where I think he's a great finisher. Like, you can't deny that he's going to score goals. It's just his overall play. And he's a player for me that needs a loan. Charles, chime in on Connor Coventry. What are we saying?
I mean, I like him a lot. I think he's obviously proved over pre-season he's got that sort of ability to fit into the squad at least. Obviously, we've got two very strong centre mid options starting, but as Bill's mentioned, we've obviously got Nobes who's leaving at the end of the season and no one else. So I think it's nice to have that option. I think Moyes is reportedly seeing sense in keeping him in and around the squad and keeping him in as a squad player, potentially even for Europa League games. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, from what I saw live as well on Saturday, he looked like a very kind of intelligent player. There's not necessarily anything to get excited about in terms of pace or skills or anything like that, but he does the basic work. He seems to do the basic work very well, and that's all you really need for someone in that position. And hopefully he'll get some game time this year to further his growth. But yeah, I like him a lot as a squad player. If our owners were willing to spend some money on another centre midfielder, that would be great. But Coventry it is.
And sometimes, Corey, just to add in that, it's more the first team exposure really that helps players rather than necessarily go out on loan. Because you look at someone like Harry Kane, you look at his loan spells. He didn't shine at Leyton Orient or Leicester or Millwall, and you read of what and listen to what people said at the time, like coaches and fellow players. He didn't look a star at all, but obviously he was given an opportunity under, I think, Tim Sherwood at Tottenham, and obviously the rest is history. So it's not always necessarily going out on loan is the best option. Sometimes it's just about taking the opportunity out and training with high quality first team players.
Yeah, same with Holland as well, isn't it? He's kind of been, everyone's kind of seen him as the next big thing, but he has been the next big thing for the last 3 years, and we just kept on loaning him out. And it's interesting to think whether if we'd given him a few games, maybe he would have come on, maybe he wouldn't have. But hopefully Moyes will see a bit of sense with Coventry and see that there's something there, and maybe not have a repeat of last year where we let go of Josh Cullen for basically pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, that was a stupid move. Let's be honest. They're just qualities. I just think sometimes with players you can be. A player like Coventry is slightly different because I feel like in terms of passing range, he offers us something a little bit different to what we already have. Like, he's a genuine different option. Whereas some other players, I think we've kind of got players in that ilk. Holland's a sad one, really, because I think when he got that injury, you can tell it's probably tough to come back from that type of injury, and doesn't really look as electric. And even if he goes out on loan, there's no guarantee that he's going to come back and he's going to develop as a player either. So you're sort of sitting there going, do we let him go? Now he's gone on loan again. And it's almost like he's gone there just to get his price tag up. So it is a tough one. But I mean, listen, as long as he gets exposure this year, you talk about Coventry, if you can get 10, 15, maybe even 20 games, sub appearances, you're talking about a quality player there. So I am buzzing from that point of view. Should we talk about the elephant in the room then? The fact that we've only signed a goalkeeper. I've noted Ogbonna injury, Milenkovic. I don't know how much I want to talk about Milenkovic because he's kind of the deal that never gets done. Anyone think it's going to happen? Anyone kind of?
Well, we've been edging closer for about 3 weeks, haven't we? I mean, how much closer can you get?
He's going to get a restraining order against Sullivan if he moves any closer.
How close is he? Just outside the ground, no more. You just stay there. It's nuts, isn't it? So the nuts and bolts of the deal apparently is the agent fee issue. Now, for me personally, there's obviously an issue with our board actually going and spending the extra bit of money to get him in, and it's just a negotiation standpoint to try and get a meal off or wait. But it's so frustrating when you've literally got 2 days to the start, or a day to the start of the season, and you've not got a long-term centre-back target in. I mean, Laz, how do we feel about him as a player? Do you know? I mean, I feel like from the outset he would improve us. He's a long-term option, but have any of you seen too much of him? I'm in the dark on this one.
Oh, plenty of YouTube highlights, mate. Plenty of YouTube highlights. All the best bits.
Skills and tricks.
yeah, from a centre back. Yeah. I mean, in terms of just before we talk about Milenkovic, obviously, got to talk about the kind of mess of the deal that's been happening with that. And I was actually going to kind of give Golden Sullivan a little bit of slack, cut him a little bit of slack over the deal once I heard, the agents getting involved and starting to, drive up the price, because obviously, agents, and from my understanding, Milenkovic is out of contract at the end of the season, so they obviously want a nice bumper fee before that kind of the price goes down. But and then obviously the news came out last night. If anyone saw my Twitter, I was pretty miffed about it, but Leicester then go ahead and sign. Leicester follow here or wherever there is. Leicester go ahead and sign Vestergaard for 15 million, which I think is a great piece of business from Leicester, who obviously need a new centre back after Fofana's very bad injury, and B, it just made me think, this geezer has been here in this league playing with us. He's got the Premier League experience. He's one of the most underrated centre backs out of the sort of outside of the big clubs. His passing abilities is incredible. Is almost centre midfield like. This is a player that we could have got or could have had a bid accepted for £15 million. How the hell do we let that slip under our noses? It really annoyed me, because you're looking at Milenkovic, who, by all accounts, is someone on the rise, someone who's got a lot of potential as a footballer in the future, potentially, playing, lots of caps for his national team, done well for the team that he's with. But you have someone that with Premier League experience, and this is why I think blame does need to go both sides in this case. I think it does need to go towards the owners, because obviously we're hassling over, a couple of million over some of these deals. But I think some of the blame does have to go to Moyes as well. I think from chats that I've had with Everton fans in the past, a lot of them have said that when it comes to transfers, he's one of the more frustrating managers. I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth too much, because I know that he's going to go ahead and do a blinder on me and spend £100 million over the next 2 days. But
rest assured, mate, he's not.
But I mean, the fact is, we were all told, and whether this was reported or whether it was true, we were all told that targets were going to be set out before pre-season started, and we would try to get people on board before pre-season started, so we wouldn't end up in this sort of situation. And obviously that's not happened. Obviously that was never going to happen. And it's just frustrating that a player like Vestergaard can just literally, Leicester put in a bid, 15 million, Southampton go, yeah, accepted, and now he's going to be in their squad potentially for Saturday. It's just madness. It's absolute madness.
With the Moyes thing, do you not think it's because, again, Moyes got credit in the bank with me, but do you not think it's because he's not got the funds to go, and he's got targets? Because I don't know, this is sketchy. I don't know the full backstory. I'm led to believe he has had targets and we couldn't afford them. So is it more on the board in that sense? Because if he's identified them, there's little else that he can do after that.
I would say that, well, I am hoping and praying that there is money there to spend. I mean, we've been told all loads of,
I ain't got
bollocks over the last couple of years. Over the last year, we've been told that, it's okay, Haller's money will go into summer transfer window, we'll have at least, 60, 70 million spent. And that has obviously gone down, that figure has gone down fast over the last couple of months. And so I would hope there is money for Moyes to spend. But at the end of the day, we'll obviously come on to this later. I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. And I'll let Bill speak because I don't want to waffle on for too much or rant too much. But essentially, I've got to take the place of Dennis, haven't I? I've got to waffle on a little bit.
A little bit of waffle.
But you know, the big target this transfer window was one position, and it was the striking position.
That's the mad thing. That's the mad thing, isn't it?
Where's our striker?
To be fair, if we're gonna go on a sort of evaluation of it, that is the one thing that does puzzle me. Bill, we're linked with multiple centre backs, and I haven't got a problem with it. I honestly don't. Even if Milenkovic comes in, I'm sure he's a good player. But the fact that we've not assessed the striking position, particularly now with, you know, you've got Arsenal circling, Atalanta circling over Tammy Abraham. Ings would be the only other one for me. He's gone up the road. Adam Armstrong's gone to Southampton. We're in a pickle, putting it lightly.
Yeah, well, I mean, this transfer window is just another typical GSB load of bollocks. We tried, and yeah, I'm getting tired. I'm sick and tired of saying it, but you know, you'd think, you know, finishing sixth and Europa League football we'd spend a bit more money and be more proactive in the market, and just it's been the same old crap. So you know, and 8 months later, after selling Sebastian Haller, we are still in the same situation. Everyone's senior centre forward. It's pathetic. But you know, it is what it is under these owners. Unfortunately, we have to get used to it. And yeah, I think in terms of Milenkovic, I think from what I've seen of him, he looks a decent enough player. He's played over 120 games for Fiorentina. He's played in a competitive league in Serie A, and he's 28 caps for his national side. He's very tall. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5". He's played a lot of games for someone who's only 23 years of age. So, you know, and you've got to trust Moyes, especially in his second spell in charge. You look at the signings, and you have to say they've all pretty much come off. First spell side, you know, Jordan Hugill, Patrick Severo, ignore them for now. But his second spell, I mean, you know, you can't really fault any of the signings, can you? So, but yeah, I think the striking department's a joke, and you know, with a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks left, you'd hope that gets sorted out. But it should have been before a ball was kicked in pre-season.
That's the only thing that worries me is when, you know, you hear Abraham's the top striker, right? And we all had kind of opinions, I think, going into the summer transfer, who was the guy to go and get for West Ham. But to not have a backup is madness to me. To literally to not, because at the end of the day, he turned around and said, or allegedly, I don't want to join West Ham. So now, to them, what do you do? Like, you should have kind of prepared for a situation where you've got 4 other targets to go and pick. I haven't got a clue. I've seen on social media they're saying that Moyes doesn't think Origi is even a decent backup option. And in which case, well, what are we doing? Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of, you cannot go into a season. We are going into a season. You cannot go past the transfer window and have one fit striker. You can if you West Ham, but I mean,
I think the insanity is even more kind of accentuated when you take it in context. I mean, you know, if our only striking option was someone like Erling Haaland, you know, everyone would be like, all right, it's a little bit light, but I tell you what, you know, this guy's class, he's fit, he's ready to go, fair enough. We've got Mickey Antonio, and I love the geezer to bits, but A, he can be hot and he can be cold. And B, it's not a matter of if he gets injured, it is when he gets injured. And honestly, the amount of extra games that we're going to have to play this season, you have to be crazy to think that he's going to last 38 Premier League games, added on to so many other cup games and Europa games that we've got going on. Like, we need a striker, and you know, we'll take bloody Jordan Hugill back at this rate if we can't get anyone else. But we need someone. We need someone who's gonna, you know, not only just offer something like Odubaku did last year, where he basically came on against Stockport and then came on against United and got taken off in the same game. You know, we need someone that's going to provide competition, that's going to say to Mickey, look, this number 9 shirt, it doesn't make you, it doesn't make you invincible to being dropped. We need you to stay fit, need you to be on fire. If not, we've got another geezer who can come in and do it for us. So it's just been woeful, the striking options. I mean, it's been woeful since January transfer window when we didn't buy a striker, and now it's just getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I completely agree, lads. I don't even really know how to touch on it or any. I'm hoping we see something. It's going to be mayhem last week at the window. You know, they've left it all to the last minute, and I'm just kind of hoping that we don't end up with Phil Jones or Gary Cahill. But we kind of all know this. And
yeah, stick them up front.
Up front, exactly.
Yeah, you can only imagine.
David Martin up front. It's going to be beautiful.
Insane, mate. Nah, look, let's talk about the only signing that we have brought in. Well, to be fair, we've signed some youth players.
We've signed about 20 academy players.
Yeah, Okaflex being the main one that we've seen, but Areola is the main senior player. You lads happy with that? I know we kind of discussed it a little bit on Saturday, but from my point of view, having 2 number ones is brilliant. Longevity, he's 28, did well last year. Excited to see him this season. And how do you think that battle goes between him and Fabianski? Fabianski got to have the benefit of the doubt, surely, going into the season.
Yeah, I'd imagine that. I think at the Atlanta friendly was a big sign in terms of how he's going to start the season. Yeah. Fabianski will start certainly in the league, and I think obviously the amount of cup competitions we're in now, I think Areola will possibly be our cup keeper. Or he might start, Europa League. He might start those matches. But yeah, I think you're right. I was really impressed with him at Fulham. He's one of their leading lights, obviously in their ultimate relegation. And he's got talent. And I'm glad because obviously Fabianski's not getting any younger, and it was something that we needed to certainly think about. And if he does well this season, then hopefully we'll buy him at the end of the season. So I think I'm pleased we've got him, and just a shame that he's the only business.
Oh, mate. I mean, we do love signing keepers. That's the one thing we do, just keep signing keepers and centre-backs. It's a bit of a mad bit of personnel. But Charles, I mean, how do you see the Fabianski Areola thing? I don't know, for me, obviously, I think Areola can be the better keeper, but I've kind of been mulling it over the past couple of weeks, and I think you can't really drop Fabianski. It's just too harsh.
Yeah, I think Bill's right. I think obviously Saturday indicated where the season was at least going to start. There has been obviously a little bit of concern over the last year or two with Fabianski picking up injuries during games. So I think potentially there could be a situation later down the line where Fabianski isn't fit enough to start a Premier League game, and that's when Areola will make his kind of move. But yeah, I mean, look, we've got goalkeepers coming out of our arses at the moment, so I've got no worries.
We've got goalkeepers and centre forwards.
Honestly, I've got no problems, and in terms of the quality we've got, I'm happy with that too. So well done, David Gold-Sullivan. You sorted us with keepers. Now can you sort out the rest of the team?
I think it's the first time, as you said, Corey, I've had 2 genuine number ones. I'd probably say since we had Shaka Hislop and David James.
Yeah, man.
That's going back a while.
It is mad. It's just frustrating. It's almost like, well done for one thing, but like you're not looking at the rest of the squad and thinking it's a little bit light. And
plus we haven't even bought him. It's a loan.
With a view to buy.
That is a genuine concern, because there's no doubt for me he's obviously Premier League proven. He's done it last season. He could have a great season. If Fab gets injured and he comes in, all of a sudden he's the top keeper. The fact you didn't even get an obligation to buy is nuts. And I think the final fee would be 12 mil, which for a keeper of that quality in this modern day and age it's top. So I mean, I'm sure we'll be moaning about that.
Well, it'll be paid out in 16 instalments over the next 20 years. So
yeah, give you a packet of Haribo and the rest will come later. It's nuts, mate. It's nuts. But we have
a Twix.
And a Twix and a Mars bar.
Easy, Bill. Easy. Don't break the bank, mate.
Well, I'd probably give him Darren Randolph in a swap, wouldn't we, with PSG?
We'd probably give them money to take Darren Randolph off us, honestly.
Look, we got a season coming up. We're in the Europa League. We haven't forgot, but it kind of gets brushed under the carpet with the transfer window. What are your expectations for Europe? Because I kind of feel, at the end of last season, I was buzzing just to get in here. It's a day out. You've got away days, even home fixtures. But where, Charles, do you seriously think West Ham can finish in the Europa League?
Europa League is a whole different beast for us, really. We haven't really had a proper go at a European competition now for God knows how many years. We've been through so many qualifiers, but yeah, no luck in terms of getting to group stages. So it's a totally different beast. So I would obviously love to qualify, whether that be first or second group. But again, it's a different beast, and hopefully Moyes will take it seriously enough that we obviously are competitive, but not so seriously that we end up injuring our whole team and our whole one striker. But yeah, look, if we give it a good run, obviously depends on the group that we get drawn, which obviously hasn't been done yet, but I think that's being done pretty soon, isn't it?
27th, isn't it? 27th.
Yeah, so we'll have a better indication then of how far we can go. But in terms of rest of the competitions, I mean, Premier League, I'd love to see another top half finish, top 10 finish would be a success in my book. It'd be at least consistency, which is something that we haven't really had over the last few years. But yeah, so a top 10 finish would be good in my eyes for the Premier League. I think the big thing that I want, and I know West Ham fans want this every year, but I think with the way that we're set up, I think we can really have a good run at a cup. I've always got a preference towards the FA Cup, but even if we have a good go at the League Cup, I don't mind. I think this is a good chance to do that. A lot of teams are going to be carrying a lot of fixtures this season, and hopefully we can sort of take advantage of maybe some of the bigger teams getting knocked out, and hopefully have a decent run in the cup. It was nice seeing Leicester do what they did last year, and obviously they did it again on Saturday with the Community Shield. So yeah, it'd be nice to have a nice Wembley day out, but overall, just consistency across the board. If we can keep top 10 in the Premier League, I'll be happy with that. And if we can have a go at one of the cups, then that'll make it all the more exciting.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, you see what Moyes is talking about, because normally Moyes with the cup competitions, I don't feel that he takes it properly serious, and probably because he doesn't have the facilities to do that. To be fair to him, I know he got Everton to a cup final before, but he speaks differently about the Europa League. He talks about it as we genuinely want to be challenging in that, and there is a natural concern that we will burn out. But Bill, do you feel confident? I know the opposition's tough, and no one's denying that, but certainly in terms of West Ham's mentality going into that competition, because I personally feel Moyes is going to throw a lot at it.
Yeah, Bala sounds like he's going to make a go of it, obviously with the squad depth, etc. But if we play our first team, from the very start, I think I fancy us to get a couple of wins at least in the group stage, and you never know. As Charles said, depends who we get. I mean, our coefficient will be okay because we've qualified. For the playoffs a few times, so we'll have some sort of ranking as opposed to no one who's qualified for the first time or whatever. So, and I think obviously there'll probably be one big side, and then I reckon there'll be at least one or two teams that will be equal, if not slightly better than. So, I'd fancy this. It also depends on the draw, but I think we could get out of the group. I think that should be realistic. We shouldn't have the mentality just to make up the numbers. I think we should. Obviously try and win it, but I can't see it happening. But I mean, have a go at it. I think we could get out of the group, and as Charles says, I think in the league, I think top 10, I think is definitely achievable. If you look at our first 11 against any of the others, I think as last season proved, we'll give anyone a game. And I did a prediction video for my channel yesterday, and I had West Ham down as 9th. Which I'd happily settle for, and and as Charles says, in the cups as well. With the Carabao Cup, we don't need to worry about the second round this year because we go into the third round because we're in Europe. So
that was a nice little surprise the other day. I was looking
absolutely massive, boys.
We're huge, mate. We're absolutely massive.
So I think if we can stay clear of injuries, which is never really happens, but if we get a bit of luck with that and get some more players in, and hopefully the youngsters, if they step up, then you never know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's a mad one, isn't it? I mean, fighting on all fronts this season. Europe's a bit of a luxury for us. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the one thing that Moyes probably has to overcome a little bit when we talk about cup competitions is when we start to play the top four sides. A couple of times last season, it was slightly frustrating with the way that we were playing, and sometimes we were a little bit conservative. But like you say, Bill, when our first 11's out and you see the way that we can play, we shouldn't really fear anyone. And we can give it a go in every single game. We have got match winners. We're a hard-working team, defensively well organised. We've got multiple ways of winning, set pieces.
And some of our players have got European experience.
Exactly. So
which helps.
Souček's a massive plus. Obviously, you played for Slavia Prague. Is that right?
Yeah. And obviously Soufal, and obviously Declan Rice in the Euros.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Dec. I mean, Dec might be one of the best defensive midfielders in Europe. So, I mean, people will be looking at West Ham's midfield pairing of Souček and Rice and thinking, that's quite tricky. But I'm like you lads. I just want to see I want to see consistency. I want to see stability. I was hoping that getting in Europe with allow us to attract certain players to the club, and we would sign them, and we could just build. And even if we went out in the the next stage of the Europa League, we'd go again the following season. You look at the way that Villa are trying to manoeuvre, but look, I've got no doubt about this side. I've got no doubt about these players. We'll give it our all. I'm sure Moyes will figure it out to the best of his ability. Again, it just comes down to squad depth and how far we can go for. And I hope it doesn't hurt us in the league.
I think what this window has shown us is, whether it be this new consortium that are coming in or, other potential suitors, we've got to have some change because there's no doubt in my mind that Sullivan and Gold can't afford to run a football club anymore. Not a football club of our sort of capacity. I think it's it's obviously been evident for a while, but in terms of a financial point of view, it's just getting embarrassing now. And like you say, Corey, I think if we do a Leicester and look at the season we've just had and go, oh, we're in Europe. Oh, we're actually not a bad team. We might as well progress from this. Go out and buy a few decent players, and we're obviously going into the season with a lot more optimism, and there's a lot of things to be optimistic about. But it's that dark cloud that keeps on hanging over us, and I think regardless of who people want come in or who they want running the club, or whether they think these new suitors are just kind of taking us on for a bit of a joke, then I think it's clear as day now that Golden Sullivan's time as football owners of this club are pretty much just done, and I don't see it being a very nice divorce, but whatever we can do to get them out, hopefully it'll come to fruition.
I think we're in the final stages of it. If I'm honest, even with that kind of pressure, I think it is genuinely the beginning and the end. We have to hope. I'm gonna sort of shelve the Pie Capital stuff because I feel like that's next week's vid. You want Dennis back for that one?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna park it there, lads. A pleasure to get you back on. Of course, you'll be back on throughout the season. We'll do it every week. Cup of tea, chatting, talking about the antics on the Saturdays and the Sundays when we meet up. No, I'm just glad I recovered. Any final thoughts, lads, before we go?
Yeah, just I'm optimistic for the season like last season, and hopefully we'll have a similar season would be brilliant. But if not, just a bit of stability. Every time we've had a really good season, it's followed by relegation scraps. So as long as it's nowhere near that, I think it should be an exciting one.
Charles, what are you getting for takeaway this week?
No, mate. Hopefully, a new season, new me. Let's hope. But, three games in, I'll be back in it. Trust me. But yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of things to be optimistic about. A lot of things to be maybe slightly skeptical about. This new kind of ownership this new sort of ownership potential could be interesting for throughout the season. It's obviously going to be a long process, whatever happens. But yeah, in terms of on the field, Moyes, I have a lot of faith in Moyes in terms of his managerial ability. He proved a lot of us wrong last season, and judging by the way we played on Saturday we played really, really well. Very tight in defence, very well in attack. We bring that on Saturday against Newcastle, it'll be a very interesting game. But I reckon score prediction for Saturday, I'm going to go ahead and say 2-1 to us.
I've got 1-0. Bill, what are we saying?
Judging by our results the last couple of seasons, I'm going to say 1-1.
Not bad. As long as we don't lose.
As long as we don't lose, yeah.
As long as we do better than last season.
Yeah. Couldn't get any worse.
Let's say about that a better. Right, wrap it up. We'll be back next week. Everyone watching, drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Let us know in the comment section what you want us to talk about next week. Of course, the interaction is so important, and we'll put together a little schedule and we'll have to go through it. Dennis will probably be back next week, so if you are after the takeover talk, he'll be back with the TSB outside in the background. Take care, everybody. Got a preview coming out on Saturday morning. Enjoy the rest of your week. Come on, you Irons.